Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Scott Rowan, the Vice President at American Express for Open Small Business, and I'm pleased to be here with Marie Johns, Deputy Administrator for the Small Business Administration. Today, we are excited to be here to actually talk about what the administration is doing to help small business owners. And what we've done is we've actually asked a lot of questions of small business owners, or actually asked them to ask us questions about what's on their mind. We've been taking in questions over the last few days, and today we're going to address those. While we have those questions sent to us previously, we're also live right now on Facebook. So if you have questions for us, please feel free to post those questions. You can also follow us on Twitter. We have a hashtag, OpenLive, so that you can follow the conversation. So with that being said, we're going to jump in. And the first question that we have here is from John in Montana, and he's in the trucking business. He states, I recently read that the recession officially ended in June of 2009. As a small business owner, I find the statement hard to swallow. Do you think the recession is over? If not, when do you think it will end? And more importantly, when will the financial spigots open again for lending to small business owners?
Well, first of all, Scott, thank you and American Express for this opportunity to talk to small business owners all over the country, everywhere actually, about what we're doing at the SBA. And John, thank you for your question. I'm not an economist, so I don't know how to gauge a recession's beginning or ending, but I am a neighbor, I'm a friend to people who are still struggling with finding work, with getting capital for their businesses. And so what I'm really excited about, this has been an exciting week at our agency in particular, because on Monday, as we know, President Obama signed into law the Small Business Jobs Act. And that act has a variety of benefits, very important benefits for small businesses that I'm hoping, Scott, that we'll be able to talk about through the course of this opportunity together. But in regards to opening spigots, I believe that was John's question in particular. At the SBA, we hear from small businesses all the time. In fact, I was in Baltimore, Maryland early this morning speaking to a group of lenders and small businesses at a gathering sponsored by Governor O'Malley and the Secretary of Business and Economic Development for Maryland. And I was talking about the Small Business Act and the fact that at the SBA, we had tremendous success through the Recovery Act with the elements of that law that allowed us to raise our government guarantee for our 7A and 504 loan programs from 85% to 90%. And the Recovery Act also allowed us to eliminate fees associated with those loans. And so one of the most terrific benefits in our view from the Small Business Jobs Act is the fact that that authority was extended, was funded to the tune of $505 million. And so at the agency, we have the mechanism in place. We have a queue of loans of over 1,300 loans, and so our folks are ready to go. Once the bill was signed into law, actually the implementation process is already underway, and within days, we expect for those businesses to have those loans granted. So to business owners who aren't in the queue, what I would urge them to do is to visit their local bank, their local lender, community bank or some other lender to talk about these new programs and to see if their business would qualify.
Well, and that qualification point is a good one because we have had a number of questions around, this is great that money is starting to flow through, but there's some skepticism about how it will flow through ultimately. There's a question actually here from Stuart in New Jersey who states the stimulus main provision, this is the Jobs Act that was just passed on Monday, is $30 billion in money going to financial firms to allow for additional loans. Yet on the other side, regulators of banks are increasing their credit standards to the point of rejecting once approved loans. How do you reconcile these two opposite trends that are going on?
There are a number of elements in the bill that many of which are focused on SBA programs, but in response to that question, I'd like to focus on one of the elements of the bill that's more within the purview of the U.S. Department of Treasury, and that's the Small Business Lending Fund that is part of the bill, and that is specifically, that fund is specifically designed to increase the lending capacity for community banks. Banks have diversity in their industry, just like any industry, and we're talking about the large multi-state regional banks. They have one set of regulatory standards. Community banks are smaller and tend to have a different set of standards. They may be regulated by the state, for example. But the thing that's so exciting about this Small Business Lending Fund is the fact that it will put capital in small community banks, and with the proviso that that money is to be earmarked for lending to small businesses. And at the SBA, we intend to work with Treasury to roll that out, and we're very excited about what we think is the increased capacity for local banks to lend to local small businesses. And if I could add one other thing, at the SBA, and this work began before the Small Business Job Act was signed, and that is that we're looking at our loan programs. I am very involved in an initiative across the agency to increase our the services that we provide to previously underserved markets, whether those are rural markets, certain urban markets, et cetera. And so we're looking at developing a new suite of loan products, one of which is specifically targeted on underserved markets, a relatively streamlined loan product that we think will be met with very good result by small businesses, and we're just about ready to talk about it, but not quite.
Okay, well, excellent. We'll be excited to hear more about that. In talking about the Jobs Act, one of the things that we've heard a bit about is the ability to start depreciating assets, the 50% depreciation of capital expenditures, which sounds very generous. But we have had some questions from service companies that don't make those type of investments. So maybe you can talk about either the depreciation aspect of the new legislation, or what companies, small businesses that aren't making those kind of capital investments can actually get out of this new legislation.
Well, I think that, if I may, the important thing, and I want to refer to my notes here to make sure that I get this absolutely right, the important thing to remember for our small business owners out there is that previous to the Small Business Jobs Act, President Obama had approved 8 tax cuts specifically targeted to small businesses. And what the Small Business Jobs Act does is to provide 8 additional tax cuts. Depreciation is one. Accelerated zero capital gains tax, increased deductions for startups, deductions for employer-provided cell phones, deduction for health insurance for the self-employed. So I think that the president's, this act did a terrific job in really thinking broadly about the fact that small businesses are not monolithic, that they come in different sizes and shapes and industries. And so while the depreciation tax cut isn't something that all businesses would be interested in, right, or could make use of, there is probably something in here for any small business if they would just take a look at, across the board, the 16 tax cuts that are now available. Okay, great. We've had a few questions coming in through Facebook that builds on that, but actually moves beyond actually the investments that are being made, but also how to stimulate demand. So there's a question here from Jennifer in Wisconsin. What is being done to generate demand and stimulate the economy for small businesses? So getting consumers into the stores, into the restaurants, to actually buy services, to actually drive the demand for a small business. Oh, that's a great question, Jennifer. And what I would like to make sure that I talk about, because there's a lot of focus on access to capital, and much of what the jobs bill addressed was to increase the flow of capital to small businesses. But at the SBA, we'd like to talk about the 3 C's, capital being one, contracting being the second, and counseling is the third. And so to the question about how to stimulate demand, I would strongly suggest that small businesses who haven't done so pay a visit to one of SBA's resource partners, our small business development centers, for example. We have over 900 of them across the country. And the purpose of those centers is to really serve as a one-stop shop for a small business owner, to provide resources, technical assistance on things like marketing plans, things like how to better sell yourself as a new company president, as a CEO. What kinds of networks should the small business owner engage in order to be able to raise the profile of the company and to broaden market opportunities. Those are the kinds of practical, hands-on advice that small businesses need, and I'm very proud to say that the SBA is very serious about providing those kinds of services to businesses free of charge. One element in the Small Business Jobs Act was a $50 million pot for our SBDC resource partners, and so those funds will be distributed to all the SBDCs across the country. The small business, if I may say one other word, the small business development centers are often required to, well, they get an allotment from the SBA every year, but they're also required to raise a local match. So whether that's from their state or local government or some business entity, business support group. And in this in these economic challenging times, it's been difficult to raise that match. State governments are suffering, et cetera. And so the allocation in the Small Business Jobs Act was designed to help pick up the slack, so to speak, so that those centers can continue to provide robust technical assistance to small business owners.
That's great. You mentioned the 3 C's, which I really like a lot, and we talked about capital at the beginning, and you were just talking about counseling. The contracting piece is a great one to dig into. We've had a few questions here on government contracting. So let me ask this first one here, coming from Andre in New York. With my small business being a startup, how can I get past the catch-22 of not having enough past performance when going after or trying to team up with a larger company for a government contract?
Well, we, at the SBA, we have an entire organization, our business development, government contracting and business development organization, look across the board at how to make government contracting work more effectively for small businesses. As small businesses who are listening and who pay attention to the federal contracting space know that the government has a 23% goal every year to meet for small business procurement. We have just recently completed work at the agency on an intergovernmental government contracting task force, which was focused on, this was through a presidential executive order, because this is a top priority of President Obama. And the task force looked at how can we, as quickly as possible, improve government contracting for small businesses. Now, the question is talking about, I'm not sure if the question is, if I'm specifically answering the question, but I think this is important for the questioner to know, because I think it may be useful to get at the concerns that the individual raised. The Intergovernmental Task Force looked at 3 major categories. First and foremost, looked at, and the recommendation, which is now in the process of being implemented, making sure that government contractors understand, government contracting officials, understand what the rules are and how to apply the law appropriately for the various categories of small businesses that we pay particular attention to. For example, our small disadvantaged businesses, women-owned businesses, service-disabled businesses, and those businesses located in the hub zone. And also our 8A business development program, which has historically been focused on small companies, particularly minority-owned companies.
We actually did get a question around 8A specifically, and the question's coming from Patricia in Florida. Mm-hmm. She asked, the 8A certification process is somewhat time-consuming. Is the SBA doing anything to make this system work a little bit more efficiently for small businesses?
Absolutely, we are, Patricia. In addition to the task force focused on improving government contracting, the agency has also undertaken a comprehensive look at the 8A program and is in the process of finalizing some revised regulations for that. I take that very seriously as someone who's been involved in the small business community in my home region for many years. I have worked with small businesses. I've provided telecom services to small businesses, and so I'm familiar with the 8A program and the concern that's been raised that the program sometimes appears to be too cumbersome. I have talked to roundtable groups of 8A companies from around the country, even in the 3 months that I've been in the role, and so the agency has taken a very critical listen to what these 8A companies are telling us, and we hope that in the very near future that business owners, and particularly 8A program participants, will see an improvement in the way the program is managed.
That's great. And we did have a question here from Karen on Facebook of where she can get some more information, both on some of the applications for the business loans, but I think also maybe around the government contracting work. And I'm sure on the SBA site you have information on this?
We have actually a new and improved SBA website that we've launched a part of it. There are more improvements yet to come in the very near future. www.sba.gov is the place to go. I would urge small business owners to check our website regularly. There's always new information there. It's being updated constantly. There's good information about the Small Business Jobs Act and how small business owners can take advantage. Back to the Intergovernmental Task Force on Government Contracting, that was one of the 3 areas of focus, is to ensure that the government is maximizing the use of technology in order to convey information in a timely way to small business owners. And so, for example, the FedBiz Ops, excuse me, is being retooled and upgraded, and we're looking to provide, using the internet, the power of the internet, to give small business owners an easy way to come to our website and literally search the government, the federal government, for opportunities and for other critical information that they know in order to be successful.
That's great. And at American Express on openforum.com, we actually have quite a bit of information on government contracting as well. So that might be another resource. So switching gears a little bit, there were quite a few questions that came in previously around healthcare. And so I thought we'd try to take a few of those as well. We have one here from Mike in Illinois who states, I recently received my new medical insurance rates for employees. 4 years ago, we averaged about $250 per person. 3 years ago, it went up to $350. And last year, it went to $550 per person. We were recently quoted a best rate of $850 per person this year. Now, he's been told that the insurance companies are all increasing their rates to offset deficits they expect 4 years from now. And he's just looking to see if you can comment on that.
Well, I can't comment on that specifically. I don't know that that's true. But I can talk a bit about this issue from 2 perspectives, actually. And if I could just reflect a bit on my previous life before coming to the SBA. I served on the board of a hospital, a university hospital, and I also was on the board of an insurance company. And so I know from those 2 experiences that healthcare in our country, costs are really, they're rising at every level, and we had to do something as a country, and that's why I'm so proud of President Obama having the courage to take this issue on, and that Congress acted, and we have the Affordable Care Act in place now. So that's the good news, and the Affordable Care Act has a number of benefits for small businesses, but in regards to increasing premiums, we at the SBA, as we talk to small businesses around the country, talk a lot about the state exchanges that are coming online, and we are confident that those exchanges are going to make a difference for small businesses. Because today, part of the problem is that so many small businesses are captive, there's not competition, and so there aren't any marketplace forces really at work to help mitigate some of these increases in costs in the industry. And so the exchanges will make a big difference in that regard, and we just have to work hard to make sure now that we have the Affordable Care Act in place that everybody comes to the table. Insurance companies, the small businesses need to continue to comment on aspects of the law that they want to ensure are implemented properly. And I feel very encouraged and confident that a couple of years from now we're going to see an entirely different set of circumstances for small businesses, that they'll have choices, they'll be able to manage their health care costs more effectively.
That's great. There was a few questions that came up that are somewhat related to this because of healthcare, but around 1099. So this question is coming from Anne Marie in Missouri, and she states that the focus of this White House as of late has been to make it easier for small business owners to do their jobs and create jobs. Why then, in the new health care bill, is there a provision for small business owners to complete a 1099 form for each vendor with whom they spend more than $600 a year?
The 1099 issue was developed as a way to address the cost of implementing the Affordable Care Act. But small businesses have been very clear about their dissatisfaction with that provision in the bill. And one immediate fix that has come about since the passage of the bill is the fact that purchases on credit card, I believe, are not subject to these same reporting requirements. And so what I would urge small businesses to do is to take another look. In fact, come to the SBA website or contact your local SBA, either the district office or Small Business Development Center, and sit down and have a talk with someone about this 1099 provision, and let us help you figure out how to manage that. Because some business owners made themselves heard, and an improvement was made, and that's what I would urge everyone to do, to make a call and find out how to best manage that 1099 issue.
All right, and maybe that's a topic that we can dig a little bit deeper on open forum or through the SBA to be able to get some of this new information out there. Another question that came in, again, regarding healthcare. This one's from Sarah from Texas. She asked, what is the impact of healthcare reform to a micro business, less than 10 employees? Is providing coverage mandatory, and can existing plans be maintained at their current rates?
Absolutely. Existing plans can be maintained. One of the most important aspects of the Affordable Care Act is the fact that there are no mandates. There is the opportunity for small business owners to look at the various provisions in the bill and determine what works best for them, based on the size of their employee base, based on the industry that they're in, based on their what's affordable for them. And so, no, Sarah, there are no mandates. You can choose how to best avail yourselves of the benefits of the Act.
Okay, so this next question actually, I think, looks at it a little bit different ways. So it's not mandatory, but it gets into a little bit of the incentives and why they should be offering this up. So Mike from Florida states that he believes it will cost less for a small business to pay the penalty for not offering insurance than to pay the employee benefits at 50%, even through SHOP and the included tax benefits. That means it would be beneficial for small businesses to not offer benefits at all. He's not sure that this is true and just wants to know the advantage for a business of offering these benefits to his employees.
Well, again, there are no mandates for employees. The state exchanges are going to provide significant competitive options for small businesses to provide health care. The notion of the penalty, again, is part of the whole premise of the bill, and that is not to give businesses choice in terms of what makes sense for them. There may be a situation where, given the size of a business, that it is better for employees to purchase health care from the exchange as opposed to the employer providing it. That, in my mind, is the beauty of the bill. And so, again, I would urge small business owners, if they're having difficulty wading through all the puts and takes of the bill, let us help you with that. The SBA can do that, or direct you to someplace where you can get more information. But I do think the whole notion of the Health Care Act might be something to delve into a little bit more deeply in a later program.
Okay, that's great. We have been getting a number of different questions coming in through our Facebook feed, as well as previously on how to help stimulate small business to really get into growth. And a number of suggestions have been offered up, including eliminating capital gains taxes, tax credits for hiring, estate tax exemptions. So there's a number here, but Cynthia, actually from California, simply states, what are the plans to give small businesses more tax breaks? Is that something that you can address?
I would address that by saying President Obama has we already have 12 new tax breaks since the early part of last year, including tax credits for hiring individuals, particularly people who have been unemployed for a period of time, eliminating capital gains. The notion of stimulating the economy, though, as far as the SBA is concerned, yes, there is a tax component to that, but that also ties back to the contracting and the counseling services that we provide that I mentioned earlier. And I would urge small businesses to come to the SBA to take advantage of those services. When you're talking about marketing, it's so important to be part of a network. It's important to get out, talk about your business, meet other like-minded business owners. Those are really some of the most important ways that small businesses can grow their market share, and the SBA can help with that. Tax breaks are important, access to capital is important, but at the end of the day, you got to have business coming in the door for any of these pieces to make sense for a small business. So yes, the marketing is very important, stimulating demand, and the business owner and other individuals in the business have a good opportunity to help do that by getting out, working the SBA network for their business's advantage.
That's fantastic. I think that's something that we consistently hear, that growth is what's so important to these small business owners and actually for our economy overall. We know, two out of every 3 jobs that have been created over the last decade have come from small business owners.
Exactly.
So the fact that we can create demand that actually helps small business owners to actually go out there and hire people is fantastic.
Actually, Scott, if I may, thought of another example that might be useful for people. I've talked a bit about the small business development centers, but I also want to point out that we have a network of 110 women's business centers around the country. And I had a wonderful opportunity recently in my hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana, to visit with a group of women business owners in a roundtable at the Women's Business Center in Indianapolis. And they told some very moving, very powerful stories about their business, the trials and tribulations, but also about the terrific support that they've received from the SBA's Women's Business Center. But the other thing that I found fascinating was the fact that these women who represented businesses from upholstery shops to personal care services to home health care, jewelry, a jewelry designer, they were able to benefit from just the fact that they met each other at the Women's Business Center and were part of a support circle, that it was from that experience that other business opportunities came. So I can't emphasize enough, if you come to the SBA, you're going to find a way to help your business grow.
That's excellent. So we're running out of time here. We're running up against the end, but I think we covered a lot of great topics today. We had some good dialogue. We asked some tough questions. Specifically talked about the new legislation that has just gone in. President Obama signed just on Monday, which is great news. We talked about how do we stimulate demand, which is very important for small businesses right now. And we talked quite a bit about the healthcare and some of the tax implications. So I think we covered some great ground there. I know I learned a lot. So I just wanted to thank everyone out there for providing your questions, and especially
thanks to Amex for providing this great opportunity.
That's great. So if you haven't had your question answered, please keep submitting them. We will try to get back to them in written form. You can always go to openforum.com. We always take questions there as well. And anyone that wasn't able to join us today, we will have this recorded and up on whitehouse.gov as well as openforum.com. So feel free to point people in that direction. So with that, I thank you again. I'm Scott Rowan, Vice President at American Express Open Forum. Have a great day.